What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA camp today. Let's get started. Darren Till attacks MMA supporters who are rejoicing about Israel Adesanya's previous battles in the Octagon. Izzy lost to Nassourdine Imavov via knockout in the second round over the weekend, which was his third straight loss and his fourth in 5 fights. Till guarded the legacy of the former champion. He maintained that Izzy would still be considered one of the greatest boxers of all time, even if he lost 5 more bouts. Darren wrote in an extensive post on X, "I've just read a comment on an MMA page saying the downfall of Israel Adesanya needs to be studied. Can everyone on here who is not an absolute actually understand that statement? I am trying so hard to understand it, but can't. I'm so confused. What downfall? I've seen people comment about downfall studies, etc. All that, like, the downfall of Darren Till needs to be studied. I get that. I should have excelled more in the UFC than I did, but some certain factors didn't let me. But now I swear I cannot even fathom that. I've just seen a comment saying Israel Adesanya's downfall needs to be studied. Me and Izzy aren't friends. I wouldn't even say I am his biggest fan outside of the Octagon, etc. But that's got all to do with what that man has achieved in this sport. He was a wrecking machine at middleweight. No one could beat him. Literally at one stage, he looked unbeatable in his title reign. People only cried for the fight between me and him because of styles. But facts are facts. He was ruining everyone. He made Paulo Costa look like a baby, who, by the way, had a war with Yoel Romero. He absolutely bodied Robert Whittaker. Izzy was an absolute wrecking machine in his day. He is, without a doubt, one of the middleweight GOATs, and it's not even up for debate. In fact, he can lose his next 5 fights, and it wouldn't change a thing about his GOAT status. But these today kind of MMA fans are so dumb, stupid IQ of about 10, say these things. I just look and think, oh my god, hope is lost, gang of absolute morons. I'm in utter disbelief by it. Sorry, all of you, for the big-ass rant, but me, a man like Izzy, should be worshipped among MMA fans and the UFC. He's literally one of the all-time greats. You don't have to like him, no one gives a. In fact, but we pay to watch fighting, and if it's fighting we're talking about MMA per se, Izzy was one of the best. The problem nowadays is all these dumb people on here let their emotions take over the facts of the matter. So if someone doesn't like a fighter's personality, they say this or that. Prime example with Colby Covington. You all hate him, so you all say he's this, he's that. Colby Covington is a top-tier division wrestler. He runs up mountains. He lives and breathes the sport. He's an absolute savage. Cardio for days like I've never seen. But because he acts like a complete fool, everyone likes to say he's something based on their own personal emotions towards him. These are all dumb. Dumb as F. Over and out. Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman shared their opinions on Israel Adesanya's knockout defeat at the hands of Nassourdine Imavov. Referee Mark Goddard intervened when Izzy was poked in the eye at the beginning of the second round. Izzy, however, indicated that he was okay to proceed and refused to take any rest time. Izzy changed his stance from southpaw to orthodox as the bout resumed. Imavov took advantage of the situation right away, cutting the distance and hitting a right hand to end the fight. Usman and Cejudo think that Izzy's change of stance was a key factor in how the bout turned out.
Izzy was doing everything. He's doing what he needed to do. He looked good. He looked sharp. He looked fast. Izzy was landing. Izzy was trying to keep him off balance. He attempted a couple takedowns early in the fight, Henry, as you saw. That kind of puts little things in your head. Izzy gets poked in the eye, chooses to continue, switches stances, and then Imavov, he's very sneaky with that right hand, comes over the top, lands it flush. He wasn't out of there, but that follow-up put him down completely.
You said something that hit the nail on the head, Kamar, and I'm glad you kind of brought it up. He switched stance like in Fight Zone. He was southpaw, he threw the kick, and then he switched stance, and he switched stance again. When he switched stance again, Imavov just freaking catch him with that overhand right, and that's pretty much all she wrote. It only takes one hand in mixed martial arts. It's not boxing, it's not kickboxing. That 4-ounce glove changes everything. I feel like Izzy is still dangerous. I feel like, to me, is like this was one of the fights where he just got caught.
Both guys look good. Shout out to Imavov. He's definitely elevated himself to that very, very short list, Henry, of potential next contender for that title.
Conor McGregor was seen on camera seemingly spitting in a man's face. McGregor was reportedly there at Diplo's performance at the Wynn in Las Vegas when the incident occurred.
Yo, McGregor, can I get a picture? I spit in your face, what you do? Nothing. You spit in your face, you do nothing.
Social media users swiftly took notice of this video, pointing out that spitting on someone may be regarded as assault and battery. The possibility that the person concerned would sue McGregor has already been raised. Daniel Cormier doesn't think Israel Adesanya is done fighting after his knockout loss to Nassourdine Imavov. Izzy has only won one of his last 5 fights and has now lost 3 straight. DC maintains that Izzy can still compete at a high level in the sport despite the difficult period and does not see him challenging for titles again. DC stated on his YouTube channel, "I believe that Adesanya is done fighting for titles, but what I do not believe is that Adesanya is done as a fighter. What I saw in round 1 was enough for me to believe that he could still compete. What I do believe though is that Israel has earned the right to fight lesser competition right now, but also less rounds. Israel Adesanya has earned the right to be in a 3-round fight, a fight against someone who isn't on their way to a championship, because you could say what you want about Imavov. The guy's on a short list of guys that could be in title contention. Truly, there would be no disappointment if, after Nassourdine Imavov won last weekend, the next middleweight championship fight includes him. Granted, there's Khamzat Chimaev. He could fight on co-main events and would still add value to a pay-per-view. It doesn't always have to be those 5-round main events, but when you saw what he did last weekend, Saudi Arabia sold out, a big gate. Now you know why Adesanya is still being put in those positions. But in that first round, I saw enough to say he could still compete. He looked fast. He looks sharp, but it's not the speed that's gone from Adesanya, it's the ability to see things coming. That quickness, the vision, and when you get hit as you get older, you go down. Shara Bullet is still regarded by Michael Venom Page as a superb striker, even though they defeated him by majority decision at UFC Saudi Arabia over the weekend. When asked about his performance, MVP said that the importance of competing in the UFC affects him and that he is more nervous in the Octagon than he was during his Bellator days. MVP stated, "Before even the end of round 1, I knew he was never going to do anything to beat me because he was only going to want to strike. I still feel like I was just a little bit too hesitant. Straight away, I could feel that he was second-guessing a lot of himself, so I knew I was going to take that fight. He's still an exceptional striker. I would never take that away from him." The reason why people felt like that is because of what they see, what he does in the cage. He's an exceptional fighter, but the reason I called him out is because, for me, with my experience, years and years of experience, I've seen that style before, and I knew what I could do with that style, which is why he didn't look as impressive today. Does it take anything away from him? No, I would never say that guy is not a good fighter. He's amazing. I didn't think this at the beginning, but I'm starting to think it a bit more now. There is an effect of being in the UFC, the magnitude of the UFC brand, the event. I think that's what's kind of still weighing on me a little bit, and it's making me a little bit more hesitant. Whereas before, when I was at Bellator, there was no hesitation. I was in there. I was very sure of myself. I don't know if it's I'm wanting it too much, I'm second-guessing myself, I don't know what it is, but there's definitely a UFC effect. But the more comfortable I get, the more you're going to see the old MVP. Jiri Prochazka has 3 prospective opponents after his 3rd-round TKO win over Jamahal Hill at UFC 311. Jiri indicated interest in taking on the victor of Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev's forthcoming fight for the light heavyweight belt. He adds that he would also take on Jan Blachowicz. Jiri believes Jan performed well against Ankalaev and Pereira. Jan fought Ankalaev to a split draw, then lost to Pereira by split decision.
With Alex, I would like to fight him like in my next opponent, but right now is I don't like to push it. If the UFC and negotiation about that wants to prove me with some opponent, like I said, I see the 3 guys there who's from top 5, like the challenge for me, because I don't want to fight other guys. That's Alex. There is Ankalaev, and 3rd one is we spoke about Jan Blachowicz, because he showed a really nice performance against Ankalaev too. Ankalaev against Alex too. So one of these 3, for me, I like to stand, and for me is right now right now, right this year, I really doesn't matter for me. I know I'm going to the top right now, and just give me some opponent, and I want to prove that.
Caio Borralho has stated that he would like to challenge Nassourdine Imavov. Caio acknowledges that after Imavov defeated Israel Adesanya via knockout, he first thought Izzy would criticize Imavov. Caio feels sure of his own skills and thinks he can wear Imavov down and get a finish. In an interview with Submission Radio, Caio stated, "I think Imavov can be a great fight, but I think Robert Whittaker can be a great fight too. So whoever the UFC decides me to go against, I'm ready. If it's a 5-round fight, I think he might get tired with my pace and my rhythm on him. I for sure need to get a little bit aware of his right hand because he comes very fast. And in this sport, the speed and the timing beat everything. So I think we can have 2 great close rounds, maybe 3, but in the 4th or 5th, I think I can push him a little bit more and maybe get the finish, but for sure get the victory. I thought Israel was going to pick him apart for like 3 or 4 rounds and then maybe lose 1 round or something like that. I thought it would be more like on point to get hit and all that, but I think he was good at hitting somebody, but wasn't that good when he gets hit. I think he might be a little off on the fight time, the sparring time, and all that. He's not in his prime for sure, but it's hard to say because the guy has been the GOAT for so long, been so good for so long. It's hard to see the guy losing that way, but I think he made a wrong choice when he switched the stance too close to Imavov, because when you switch the stance, you need to be a little bit far away from the guy so you can adjust, and the guy can adjust too. But I think he switched his stance so close to Imavov and he didn't have time to adapt, and then he got clipped. Ray Longo, Kenny Florian, and John Anik talked about Israel Adesanya's future. While praising Nassourdine Imavov, Florian and Longo noted that Izzy is exhibiting indications of degeneration. John Anik, meanwhile, looked into possible Izzy matches versus Shara Bullet and Michael Venom Page.
And that Izzy would win that fight. So I know that's no knock on Imavov necessarily.
No, 100%. No, wait.
About his future, though. I mean, look what he just did.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, that guy looked great. He looked great in his last fight. No, he's looking really good. You can't, in 1,000 years, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I said sometimes that's the way I look at it. Like with my guys, like, holy crow, he would have.
Right.
Nassourdine's not the guy, but I'm saying it could be other fights where that would apply better, because Nassourdine, he's been on the come up and he's looking really good. What was his last fight? Cannonier, was that the fight?
Brendan Allen, I believe.
Brendan Allen. Yeah. I mean, he's good. This guy, really, really good. What he's been doing. So I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's timing, right? It's just like, I think Imavov's on the up, and you catch Adesanya at the right time, who's a little bit on a decline, and Imavov took advantage of it.
Yeah, Kenny, you can't keep going up.
No,
you know what I mean? Gravity's going to drag you down somewhere, and that's what I see happening.
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe be inclined as a promoter to do Adesanya versus Shara Bullet, or Adesanya versus even Michael Venom Page, right? But MVP and Izzy seem like they're close, and Michael Venom Page is talking about 170 pounds. So there are things you can do.
Without a doubt.
You lose to Shara Bullet, for example, and you've lost 4 in a row. That is legacy impacting in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not for me, who still has him right below Anderson Silva as the 2nd greatest middleweight champion of all time with respect to Chris Weidman and everyone else. But you know what I mean? There becomes a point of no return. I mean, Rashad Evans, I think, would love to affect change when it comes to his Wikipedia page. And I think that's why maybe he's fighting Rampage Jackson soon.